Your kids come up through the Barry Newell era.
Barry Newell.
Barry was,
He
he was fantastic.
He made them feel like a team.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
He mentored real well.
Yeah, very, very good. And you know what? That's one thing that's very hard to do now. Like they were talking about supervision for referees, and it's very tough when your games are spread out all over the week and you have referee and chief or whatever. I think they call them the signers now. But anyways, how much time should he spend traveling from rink to watch one game? And it's very tough. It's very tough. Where I think an idea did come up where, and I've seen this in different organizations, where you put the senior guy on the ice. If there's 4 or 5 games, well, not 4 or 5. If there's a different referee, send him out there with the, and he just goes out there and monitors.
I'd like to see that, and compensated to be there. I totally agree with that.
And possibly be the linesman.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because if you're the senior referee and you go to the linesman, you can help the referee that's on the end.
Yeah.
And I can see the training session where you've got a 3-man system, you make 2 of them referees, and the linesman is the senior. The linesman, they get paid more money than the referees, but it's a training program. It's on-ice training. I have a lot of opinions on it, mainly because I've watched 3 kids go through it, and I've seen the politics, and I've seen everything with it. But the team aspect and the coaching aspect, if those kids feel proud to be on that team, they're going to do a better job. And the other thing is, we don't have enough people who are going to be able to go out there and say, I'm here to supervise you, I'm not evaluating you. Because every time the supervisor comes into the rink, the referee knows he's being evaluated. It's a written evaluation.
And he changes the way he gets
a little nervous.
If you do that 3 out of 4 times, the person come in and there's nothing written here, I'm coming in to talk to you and I'm trying to help you. But we don't have the time. We don't have people who can do that.
I think maybe, you know, one of my thoughts on that at the summit was maybe as, you know, if you're on a minor hockey board, that the referee in chief would come out and to the board and explain, you know, if we have conveners at the games, look, don't be afraid to go in and talk to them. If you see something outrageous, you know, just, and especially if you've played the game before, because you'll understand what the referee is trying to get across, right?
Yeah.
And you can, and one of the things that I think everybody's seen it when you have a 2-man system, how many times have we said, I can't believe they call that chintzy tripping, and they missed the guy slapping the guy over the head with the stick. How did 2 guys miss that? But and it's not done on purpose by no means. But that's what's aggravating it. And if we get a guy like, let's say, Stephen Walken, who was great up there, okay, an NHL referee, and I still say today, and I used to say that all the time, if you get the best referee out to do a minor hockey game, somebody's still going to, it's not going to be good enough, you know what I mean?
Get Tiger Woods to play on one of the worst golf courses in town, see what kind of score he gets. You know, but at the end of the day, you're still dealing with officials kind of being what people feel is one of the biggest problems in hockey today. And, you know, what is the answer? I mean, you both of you are with associations, and I don't know whether it's any easier to get people to put on the stripes or not, but from what I'm hearing, it's,
you know, there's, you know, if you, it's the younger kids we have to get. It's not the there's lots of referees that know, but you have to. It's a recruiting part now to get them to get them in. And I think sometimes if you ever heard that saying, you know, I used to hear from Dan, but you know, when they had a war, you would never shoot your enemy if you talk to him first. We shoot an enemy. We don't.
Yeah.
So the referees become the enemy out there, and sometimes if they were integrated with the parents, let's say at the first meeting, these are going to be some of the referees that are going to be doing your games this year. Your kids, just like your kids, are a little bit older. That might, but again, it's only a minority, and again, we're doing something for the minority, which is always so sad. It's a minority of parents.
That's true. They drive us to put policies and procedures in, and you're right. And we have so many now.
And they won't change.
Yeah, but you know what?
For the most part, they won't change.
But one of the things, there's a whole subject for a whole show. One of the things that's bothering me though is maybe if the majority of the parents who are behaving in the stands would step forward and stop the minority that's causing a black eye, we wouldn't have the problem. But they're standing back watching.
Yes, yeah.
And so
very few intervene. I have intervened. I've gone to a rink and asked people, you know what, that's harassment, and I reckon, and I've asked them to leave the rink.
That's a very good point.
I've gone up because you're right, respect.
That's a great way of putting it.
Well, it was, the weekend was about respect, I mean,
Yeah.
it was there, it was about respect for, I mean, not just the opponents, the officials,
Yeah.
anybody involved in the game, and you're right, it's a small percentage that has just, you know, tainted the process, and it's the other 90% step and just allow it to happen.
They're allowing that.
What you just said there, Derek, like if you think about it, I think the reason most people won't, they don't know exactly what to say. But if you just hit the nail right in the head, that's harassment. It's not allowed in the game.
I didn't yell back at the guy,
Yeah.
I just said
That's
that's harassment,
We're
and
not allowed to.
it was a ref.
Yeah.
It was Jericho to a referee,
Yeah.
and pounding on the glass
Yeah.
and losing his mind, and I was about 20 feet away, and I just said, enough.
Yeah.
And you know what really bothers me though is the underlying problem might be that the majority of parents who don't speak out are kind of silently cheering on that person for doing what they really don't have the courage to do.
You're surrounded by parents.
Yeah.
And none of them are saying, hey, come on, stop.
Yeah.
They're just standing there, oh, you know,
We're gonna get a call
Good.
eventually,
Yeah.
because he goes out and does it, we're gonna get a makeup
Yeah.
call, we're gonna get one.
you know, and so it's, when you talk about getting to know it, that's why I think, you know, Marty would go out, he would get there early, he'd mingle, he'd you know, have a pop or something, talk to the players, coaches before the game, he'd go on there. And when he was doing the game, this was somebody that they'd talked to before. And it was a person. One of my other sons, no, he would be the last one out of the dressing room so that nobody else would be left in the lobby. You know, Warren?
Yes.
And, you know, 6'2", 240.
Yeah.
I mean, but Warren just didn't like dealing with those people. And Ryan, well, Ryan was different. Ryan
Happy-go-lucky.
just, you know, didn't. It was just part of, you know, his nature. So, but they were career referees because they stopped playing hockey. That's what they did. 200 games a year. That's what their involvement was in the sport.
And they were well respected, you know, they were. I can't
They
ever
had
remember.
sense. They had good sense.
Yeah. And we had a lot of referees. There's a lot of referees out there, and they're, everybody, the referees are no different than anybody else. They all have personalities, and that, you know, I think one of the, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think a referee is allowed to come up and talk to a coach now without having his linesman with them. I don't think they're allowed to go up to the.
They're asked to do the too deep, right?
Yeah.
Is there something
Yeah,
about
which
racial
makes-
slur?
yeah, which makes
They
sense.
are, but
Yeah.
they have come up just, you know, or they're passing by,
Yeah.
they'll say something to you, right?
Yeah.
But you're generally, there's a linesman right there. Yeah, it has
So
to be
that's
within.
like, don't interview a student without the door.
Exactly.
One of the another interesting point I found when somebody was asking, and we all, I mean, that's why they don't put mics on the guys in the, and it's true. Like I think it was Steve Walken saying that. That's how it's. They don't take offense when a guy is swearing. Okay. And I thought of that. Now you don't want to see a little. I would never accept a little 10 or 12 or an 8-year-old doing that to a referee. Okay. And I don't think that you'll always get one, but I don't think it's anything personal. And I always wondered, like the senior referees when they do a midget game, how much. I guess they don't find it as abuse. It's just it's not being directed as adjectives or.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
it's third party
Yeah,
almost, really.
yeah. It's not like they're calling them names or calling him a name. It's but the way Steve explained it, I thought that was very, very interesting. The way he explained it. It's part of the lingo. It's part of the game. It's not a big deal.
Well, that 24/7 really opened a lot of eyes,
Yeah.
didn't it? That reality.
Yeah.
You know, where guys aren't like that, and you're going,
Yeah.
wow, my son loves it.
Yeah.
Like, that's just the greatest thing ever.
Well, it's true.
Listen to these guys, you know, banter, right?
Yeah. No, that's exactly right.
The kids have to understand that, and as you're young, you have to be able to say, you know, this isn't personal, yeah, we're just gonna talk. I don't have to pretend that I'm so much above the players, because I know at the junior A level and even at the AAA midget, guys all know the referee,
Yeah.
because they see them over and over again. I mean, before a game, there were, you know, at the OHL level, yeah, Marty would be talking to the players, they come up, hi Marty, you know, gonna give me a break this game,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
those kind of shots, and when, you know, when you make a mistake, you go by the bench and you say, sorry guys, I blew that one. I remember Marty telling me one time, one of the players said, well, that's okay, you made a mistake, you're still out there. See me, I'm at the end of the bench. So I haven't played for a whole period because I made a mistake.
I think there's more respect at the professional level than there is in minor hockey between the officials.
Yeah.
Because you take the parent factor.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm sure the officials, I'm sure they get together and say, where's you got any games this week? Yeah, I'm in so-and-so town. Who you got? They know the coaches too.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have their own little,
Yeah.
and it's true, and it's just the nature of the beast.
One of the things that came out, I don't know how many people noticed it, but I noticed it. When Scott said something about, we have a responsibility to make sure that everybody enjoys the hockey experience, including the fans.
Mhm.
And there's so many times that we kind of forget that, you know, the fans have every bit as much right to enjoy that game as the players and the coaches and everybody else. And you know, we keep pointing to the fans as being the cause of an awful lot of problems. And it would be so nice if we could keep the fans out of the rink, if we could keep the parents out of the rink. And when he came out and said, you know, we have a responsibility to everybody, including the fans, which include parents. And I thought, interesting, because who is advocating for the fans? Who's advocating for them enjoying their experience up in the stands? Which then boils down to, if there are problems in the stands, take responsibility. You know, just don't encourage them. You know, like tell them, hey, cool down. But that seems to me an area that if we're going to address some of the key issues in hockey, we have to address this. Okay, what responsibility does the game have to the fans? Because when he said watching a gold medal game, you had what, 90% of the country was watching. They were enjoying the experience.
That's right.
And so, you know, it's an area that maybe needs some more discussion.
Well, wasn't it about 10 years ago when Hockey Canada came out and it's just a game, it's just a game,
Yeah,
and they were targeting
the magic helmet.
And you know what? For a while, the game is back now, and they stopped advertising. And I think I said this before, Bob. If you have, I think it's always a minority, but just if that minority creeps up to from 3 parents on the team to 4 parents, that's a 25% increase or whatever, and that's one more parent. And it's just unfortunate in society that we're always making rules for the minority, but I guess that's society. But you're right. Well, why should we be saying that parents aren't allowed in the stands when it's only a few? And I can remember as a kid, I think Hockey Night in Canada was, they always had a hockey week where don't send your boy to the rink, take him. And then got the opposite because there was so much abuse. Eh?
Yeah.
We're going to charge you again.
I like the Oshawa minor hockey presentation. I don't know if you've done around for that one.
That was amazing because that was strictly rep hockey. They were talking about strictly
I talked to Crystal and I said, you know,
that was amazing.
And you know, they're doing a good job with the volunteer.
Yeah.
They've rebuilt that whole
Yeah.
program. I played against the Oshawa NHL back in the 70s. It was a great organization, and then it died. You know, part of it was just some GM. There was, you know,
Yes,
Oshawa
yeah.
took a beating, right? Like
Right.
somebody has over the years with respect to, you know, being so attached to one industry. But what struck me when I was talking to those gentlemen was, you know, I like they're educating parents, you know, which is the fan base
Yeah.
of minor hockey, and you know, and the extended families, you know, with harassment and abuse.
Yeah.
And again, I said, you know what, I think you guys are on the mark. You guys you're putting a ton of time in. I mean, they've got a very active volunteer
Yes,
group.
yes.
I mean, you know, you'll sit at a board and it's usually, you know, 30% of the people doing a lion's share of the work when
Yeah.
it comes to these little pilot projects, right? But that was one thing I mentioned to her, you know, the NOHA as far as where do we go after this, you know, ...
Mhm.
You know, education. I mean, this weekend was about to me. I got educated.
Yeah.
I took some great stuff away, but the fan base and Scott and Paul and, you know, at least some of the NHL pros said the same thing, right? There's nothing better than going to Espanola on a Friday night playing in front of a bunch of fans. My son said it was great.
Yeah.
Loved it. You know, whether, you know, the atmosphere, right? So we got to create that atmosphere,
Yes.
but create it in the right context,
In the right context.
the right environment, and you're right, the majority have to, you know, sort of stifle
And
stuff out the minority.
You know what? They are great atmospheres. They are great atmospheres because for some reason when you have a loud crowd, that those minorities, they're not even noticed anymore because now that it's majority that's overruling.
And the referees like it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They don't mind, but again, you've got to get to the point where you're quality enough that you've got enough confidence in your ability to do the game that you can withstand it. Tough at the younger level, because we don't yell at kids anymore. And when you take a look at the education system, kids aren't really criticized much. They don't really know how to take a lot of criticism.
I think if you're sometimes, let's say you're in the mall and you got a little 6-year-old, you start yelling at them, well, somebody's gonna call the
Heads are
cops on
turned,
you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay to go to the arena and yell at
Yeah.
somebody else, and again, it's a couple of people, that's all it is.
We gotta